Hi, I'm Tom from Just One Pack, and this is AC on the Short Alpha Clash podcast, where I talk all things Alpha Clash on my way to work. Now, I have talked about the PvE before, and I need to do that again, because that is the next thing, and things are happening. So, on Rising Empire Studios' website, or technically on the Alpha Clash TCG website, there's an article about the PvE. You should definitely go read that. Not much new information in terms of product releases, but there is some interesting tidbit coming out there and other places. One of the interesting things in that article is that we actually get to see some of the cards. So I'm not going to go into that. I mentioned them before. I mentioned, I think it was Grey Crawler that did a analysis video. Very interesting to do that. What I am going to talk about in terms of the PvE is the product line and what I'm excited about with that product coming out. Right. Also, I want to touch on some confusion. So let's just keep taking in that. So the product line as it stands right now is, of course, the PvE, the box itself. I may have a thing or two about that. But the thing is that is the main game, right? It is not a complete box, meaning that you need to bring your own decks. It does not come with an opposing deck or two, like the Locana version do. You have to bring that to the table yourself, meaning that you need to buy a Clash kit or construct a deck yourself. Right? So, accompanying this is a booster box product. Now, that is a very small set compared to other sets, and it is targeted at the PvE, so the cards you get in there is for your PvE specific decks, making it stronger and better to upgrade your decks towards PvE. Now, in addition to that, we just learned that, or I just learned, that there will be a playmat as well. Now, actually, there will be two. So what we saw first on Discord, and I was so horribly behind, so my shop had to remind me that there will be a playmat. I did not know. The playmat will be a single-player playmat, or at least the first one was a single-player playmat. Where you in a large scale, right? The reason for that being that there is zones for the player, and there are the normal zones we remember and seen like a zillion and a half times if you play a lot, but are nice to have because placement does matter to an extent. That is on one side of it. The other side, where you usually will have your opponents' play zones, you sort of have your opponents. Now that is the PvE decks with the minion deck and the event deck and the trap zones or whatever they're called. That playmat was shown, and one of the feedbacks to it was, could we get it without the player zones? Now that is absolutely perfect, and it also sort of leans into the misunderstanding that have been there. One of the things, so if you don't know or you forgot, let me just set the scene here. The PvE is meant, it says on the tin, 1 to 5 players. Now that is very dependent on the way you play it. It is, in my opinion, on my understanding, it is not wrong. It is just, it depends. Now there are 3 ways to play this game, right? 3 levels, if you like. One is the automated version, where you play against the event deck, minion deck, just as is. There is no one making decisions on in this case, Lost Kong's part. That option you can play solo, but there is an option for that to be played with 2, 3, or 4 players. Now, to my understanding, the game is only designed to handle 4 players. Now, why does it set 5 on the box? Well, that's because there is a one versus all setup where one player, and that was the one we saw on the Covenant stream, one player will take the part, play the role of Lord Krung and trying to infest the world with his hordes, right? In that case, it can be 1, 2, 3, or 4 players against that player, right? So I'm imagining that is much, much harder than the automated version. Anywho, that is an option. So when it says 5 players, that is what it means. Right? And I did mention there was a third option, and you probably already guessed that is the heroic mode, where you play all versus one still, but now the cards play with the red text on the bottom of them, which should make it much, much harder to beat. Right? Just a world of hurt. So with those 3 modes, you can play solo, 2 players, 3, 4, 5, and so on. I think technically you could do, and that's why I said it. You could do 1v1, where one is playing the event deck and one is playing their own deck. I don't know if that is true, but that is really interesting. And I think you're going to be absolutely stopped if you're playing, not playing Krung, but if you're just playing solo play, because the focus will never leave you and all the attacks will hit you. But it is an option, as far as I understand. Now, the confusion I mentioned was the single-player playmat that came out, or will come out, has the event deck zone, or the PvE zone, Seeds of Forgotten zones, and the single-player mat, a regular player mat. And that was caught, and we'll get one with just the PvE decks, right? So get the new type of zones, right? Now that has led to some confusion. When stores are once removed, and I don't know how they get their information or where they go to get that information. At least for my store, they are very curious about how it says 1 to 5 on the tin, on the box, when clearly with a 1-player mat, it's a solo player game. I think that made me curious how this is communicated to the stores. One is through the champion stores, and also just to the stores in general. Now, I suspect that the information that stores in general get, not the champion stores, is whatever is on the distributor's website. And I was looking at, I think it was Blackfire, their website with the information. There is all the information you need, right? Only it is not much of a description. Now, I get it. You don't want to scroll through, a half a novel or to get the idea of what the product is. But there are some things that seems odd to lure shops into doing that. The basic pamphlets for the game is very rudimentary. It's a product sheet as you will buy any other sort of product. I think that's sort of sad. I would have loved to see Rising Empire Studio. I know they're busy, so it's not an expectation. It's not something I expect them to do, because I know that they're really producing a lot. But what I would love to do is being able to accompany some of this with something interesting. Now, that can be open to everyone. I think I mentioned it before that I would have loved there to be a menu item on their website saying, specifically targeting retail, right? With the things that are specific to retail. I mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it again now, but where you could let your distributors link to, or let curious shop owners go and explore a little bit more. The reason being that the reason for that to be something separate from what the rest of us is going to get is that there are much more specific details and products that we do not get, like the rivalry kits. Well, it is not supposed to go to us, right? But the shops need to know that they're there, right? And right now there's a sort of a gatekeeping on that information through the distribution. Just set a website, put every single product a store could get in there, let them scroll through it like the rest of us is going through web shop, right? And there could be links to videos, there could be much more detailed descriptions, also much better product sheets. I would love for that, and it would be a lot easier, I think I mentioned this before, for the rest of us to I was about to say promote our game stores to at least have a look if there's something looking nice. They're just like us. They are lazy with their eating, just like the rest of us. So having a nice way to present it, and where you can sort of collect everything for the shop owner, that was brilliant. Anywho, they had that aside, they had this expectation that because of the setup, because the way it looks from their distributor, it kind of looks like a solo game that forces itself into maybe a multiplayer mode, which I think is the wrong way around. I think my understanding is that it's really a 1v2, 3 or 4 that happens to have an automation that happens to be playable against a playable solo. I'm not sure I'm going to survive it solo, but if I haven't mentioned it, I'm going to mention it. The second I get my box inside the house and I have a chance to play it, I am cracking open that box and I'm doing a solo play video with it, because I think that's absolutely amazing way to game with TCGs. So, all that being said, the PvE is looking really interesting. I'm really looking forward to it coming out, and I love the fact that it just isn't just a solo box, that it comes with the booster boxes. The interesting bit for box openers, but you don't need to play it, but it's cool to have. They are fairly cheap, by the way. And that you can get that play mat as well. You can get all the pieces to do it. The only issue I have is that there is not a challenger deck in the box, right? So there is that that I wish they would have done. Just pop in a deck there. I know it's another deck, I get it, but that would have been great. Anyway, I love the idea of the product. I'm really excited to get my hands on it. I wish there would be an official launch date. Right now it's anything between end of August and October, somewhere in October. I would love for that to be a solid release date. Anyway, that was it for me. I am now at work, so I'll be doing that. Talk to you soon. Bye.